And it is that time of the week, this week in District 10. And joining us is Tom Reisenweber of the Erie Times, GoErie.com. And Tom, unfortunately, the high school football season came to an end at least 1 week early for District 10 as the Hickory Hornets fell to defeat last Friday night to a juggernaut of Bell Vernon High School. And I know it's not a great year when we don't have teams going to the state championship, but still overall, some successful stories to be told out of District 10.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an entertaining season. You saw some new teams make runs at region titles and District 10 titles. You saw some quarterbacks go over some huge milestones. Had some new running backs emerge. Saw a lot of underclassmen really step up and I think have bright futures, including Calvin Morrison from Hickory, Xavier Zachridge from Reynolds. I think we're seeing a lot of younger guys stepping up these next few years. So it didn't result in a state championship, but overall it was a very entertaining season, and I'm glad everyone got through it, for the most part, pretty healthy.
Yeah, the Hickory Hornets ran into a buzzsaw on Friday night against Bell Vernon, the defending state champions. And I think the one thing that I take from that game, and Bill Dungy talked about it in the postgame, is that this is the beginning of potential very good run for Hickory with so many quality underclassmen. And I think they are expecting to make a legitimate run the next couple of years for a state championship.
Yeah, I think they're really doing a good job building kind of a culture of success down there. Coach Dungy's done it since day one. Those first couple of years, it didn't result in a lot of titles, but you see the foundation being laid there. And like you said, they have a lot of players back next year, including their quarterback, Xander Tellez, which is huge on both sides of the ball for them. So much speed, so many athletes. The linemen are all pretty good. They obviously have some underclassmen linemen that are really good this season. So I think Hickory probably goes in as one of the teams to beat in District 10 next year after a great run this year. And like you said, they ran into a buzzsaw. It's hard to beat a defending state champion who brought back basically everyone from their state championship team. And I thought the score was closer than a lot of people thought it would be. And I think that Hickory really hung in there. It's just too much talent on that team. Yeah,
no question about it. I mean, they cut it back to 19 and then had a chance to maybe get the ball back and cut it down to 2 scores still in the third quarter, which, would have made it interesting. But still, great year for Hickory, a fun year for District 10. And I guess the big next question right now for football is what will the regions look like for the next cycle? District 10 will begin working on those, I'm sure, if they haven't already, and I'd imagine those will come out here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the good thing is I don't think they have to worry about any kind of success formula worries. I don't think anyone got to 6 points, and the teams who have already moved up already have their minimum where they have to stay up with Farrell and prep. So I think for the most part, they're ready to go. You just got to look at who volunteered, if anyone voluntarily played up or not, and see what the regions look like. But I would think, geographically, it looks kind of similar. I would think teams who move up and down will go between the geography of it. Teams from Region 2 and Region 5 who go up from 2A or down to 2A or up to 3A would just switch spots. Same with Region 1 and Region 3. I would think anyone who goes up in classification or goes down would just switch spots in those two regions and pretty much be similar for the most part. But it's always exciting to see what the new regions will look like and get the schedules going for next year.
What's your take on the situation at Lakeview with the ending of the co-op? I know it's not an easy decision. I know some Commodore Perry folks, or most of them, are not very happy right now, but kind of a rock and a hard place you'd imagine for the Lakeview program. If they kept that co-op, they'd be in Double A and potentially playing the 3A teams next 2 years.
Yeah, that's a tough thing, too, the schedule. If they were going to be 2A and playing a mostly 2A schedule, you can see rebuilding, or not rebuilding, but keep on building your program in that scenario. But we saw it with like a Sagertown. When they had to go up to 2A the 1 year, they got placed in the South, and it was just a lost 2 years. They almost lost their program over it. And, how good, no matter what Lakeview would do, that's probably at least 4 losses every year to those 3A teams. And it's really hard to kind of build a lot of character and stuff like that going against those teams constantly, and losing and not having a good season, stuff like that. So I think it's tough for Colin Perry to handle this, I think they got to understand that Lakeview, they're trying to build the program up. They're in a good spot right now, and the last thing they need to do is go and hang out with Sharon, Grove City, and Hickory and get smacked around a little bit. So it's a tough decision, but I think the best thing for them is stay in 1A, try to win a D10 title and build for the future. Maybe 2 years from now, if Colin Perry doesn't have a co-op and Lakeview's really going well, they can go ahead and take that co-op on again. But for this 2-year cycle, it makes more sense just to drop it.
PWA will hold their state football championships this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and there are 5 District 7 teams in Westinghouse out of the City League, so really not much significant interest up here in Northwest Pennsylvania. I guess my one question to you, Tom, is, and I brought this up last year, why hasn't the PWA considered, because now they are at their new venue with much better facilities, multiple locker rooms, why have they not considered going to 2 triple headers and getting rid of those Thursday games?
Yeah, it's a good point. They really don't need to have that time in between. It's funny going on that campus. Obviously you want to have time to celebrate your championship, but when I was there for the soccer, the soccer field is a turf field that looks identical to football. So you can almost have your ceremony over there with giving out medals and taking photos. It's the same exact thing, same exact setup and background. So you can almost have a staged area where you give the trophy, team trophy, you give them the box of medals, tell your coach, hey, give these out on your discretion. And if they want to, you can go over to the soccer field and give them out one by one and announce and have a good time and have pretty much all day to do it. So I don't really see the need for a quick turnaround like they have right now for these games. So they could easily play 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. It's going to be interesting to see if that changes throughout the next couple of years with the calendar. The calendar gets all crazy. Next year, the state semifinals are on Thanksgiving weekend. If we ever get to Thanksgiving weekend for the championship, will that change? Because you don't want to travel on Thanksgiving, play on Thanksgiving. So it'll be interesting to see how these things change or be discussed. I know that we are in year 2 now of the 4 years of Cumberland Valley. But right now, they definitely have the facilities to have their own kind of celebration after the game. So there's really no reason to rush these games.
Yeah, I think it's a point where you start seeing Thursday at 1:00, and it's a more of a shell shock to a lot of the fans who maybe not even aware of it. And then when they see that, you start asking questions, and maybe enough people will ask the same question that I am, and maybe the PWA will reconsider it here in a couple years. PWA will meet on Wednesday, Tom, their board meeting in person. And I know you and I both took a look at the agenda. Not a lot of significant information on there. They're still tweaking some of their rules and their transfer rules. But anything that jumps out to you?
Not too much. It's mostly just administrative with co-ops going away, co-ops being formed with a new cycle coming up. Obviously on there, it's significant up here that George Jr. is leaving the PWA, and the Lakeview Co-op with football is being dissolved officially. So I guess this meeting is more, administrative. It should go quick unless there's a lot of added co-ops and stuff like that. I think what we're going to be looking for is that next meeting. If the whole Farrell thing goes through, that'll be a decision by the PWA in January. But we'll see if that ever comes to fruition or not. But yeah, nothing really too much on the agenda, and we'll see what happens next week when D10 meets.
High school basketball and wrestling and the winter sports season has officially begun in Pennsylvania. And I guess the headline so far was the beginning of girls wrestling in District 10 and here in Mercer County, a new sport for the first time. And it looks like it's building, and it's always pretty cool to see a new sport to take off, especially after the groundswell of getting it started, and it has worked.
Yeah, it seems like everything's starting at Hickory anymore. Yeah, Hickory was the first football team to practice in the state with the Midnight Madness practice, and the first D10 official girls wrestling tournament took place at Hickory on yesterday. So it's good to see that the sport's getting some traction here, and there are a lot of tournaments. It's interesting that I didn't realize right now there's no limit to how many co-ops you can have. So there's actually a Crawford County program that has 5 teams co-opted together. I think it won't really matter as much right now because there's no team championships anyway. It's all individual, I believe, for girls wrestling. But we'll see how that kind of changes throughout the years as more girls wrestle and things like that. So it's interesting to see communities coming together right now for girls wrestling. I think it's all positive. Everyone wants to grow the sport and do good things. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how much these teams come together and travel together and kind of have the camaraderie. And then once you get to March, it's all about winning that state championship. So it's I think girls wrestling is off to a great start so far.
Kennedy girls basketball tips off their season tonight over at Canfield, Ohio. A 25-2 team a year ago. Be a really good opener for Justin Magistro, the defending state champions. Clearly one of the teams that we think will take a long run again this year. Boys basketball has tipped off. Not everybody has tipped off, but any storylines from the opening weekend, Tom?
Yeah, I think it's everyone's kind of shaking off the rust. I went to 5 different games Friday and Saturday, and it wasn't great basketball. It was good basketball. I think everyone's just kind of getting used to some new teams here. I think the big thing for me is the contrasting changes with boys and girls basketball. Boys, I think there's 2 all-District 10 teams or kids back from last year, maybe 3 or 4. Girls, a lot more. We have a lot of experienced girls basketball teams, and all the top players, I would say most top players from last year are back again. Really kind of a smaller senior class. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these girls basketball teams. There's a lot of really talented teams going at it. You mentioned Kennedy Catholic. What a start to their season. Go to Canfield. I think they go to West Virginia for 2 games this weekend, and then they got rival Farrell coming up pretty soon here. So they're not messing around with their schedule this year, which is a lot of fun to watch. Obviously the big thing right now is the free throws. I haven't really seen too much of a difference so far. It did come into play a little bit on one game I went to on Friday. A team was down 4 with a minute to go and had to start fouling. They only fouled once and went to the free throw line, and the kid missed both free throws anyway, so it didn't really change anything. So we'll see how that plays out throughout the year. I think that's pretty much the big storyline this year is the free throws.
Yeah, Kennedy girls also, they'll be hosting Blackhawk and Norwin later this month as well, 2 state powerhouses. So no question they have really upped their schedule. Tom, we appreciate your time as always. Have a great week, and we look forward to chatting with you next Monday.
Sounds good, Bob. Thanks.